to submit your work for Critique Hour, go to istebrak.com and click on the Reddit icon here. And it'll take you to our subreddit where you could submit everything. 14-day challenge, community challenges, personal work, studies, everything, and you'll get critiqued. And not just that, you know, you can critique others if you're not getting any critiques back. It's a community that you can build, friends that you can find here that are all like-minded. They're all people that draw too. So if you're looking for people like you, they're here. If you are enjoying these classes and you want to give back, you can always join as a watcher on Patreon, just as $1. So if you'd like to support, please do. Patreon is a very simple, quick, pain-free way of just sending support to channels. So that's $1 a month for Critique Hour. And I know it's very little. It's almost like, why are you even asking for it? But it is a lot if everybody joins in, and it's an untraceable amount in your monthly bills. So it's not something substantial. And it's going in the way of free education, which is very rare nowadays. So if you are interested in giving back, I really would appreciate it if everybody hopped on. Okay, so this piece, it's so cute and it's got so much potential, but there's something about it extremely boring and dull. And that's because you're dealing with water reflecting light in a beautiful foresty kind of rich, lush environment. You've got it all happening. Everything is happening here. And it seems like a very poor execution for all of these textural elements that are supposed to glow. The background green isn't harmonious with any of the other colors in the scene. And the water is colored turquoise, but there's no real, it's like a shallow tropical shore turquoise, but it's not really reading as water apart from the texture you're applying. So I'm gonna just do some changes here and there to help pull the illustration through. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna make it so that this wave, this big wave in between them is kind of tilting him a little bit, so he's a little bit lower on the canvas. It's not just a boring face-to-face horizontal canvas, one character each half. It's a little bit more skewed, what you would expect out of a water scene where characters are floating around. You want the balance and the framing to be skewed as well, so we're not really throwing off the horizon line. It's not really a Dutch angle. It's definitely still reading as like a level camera, but it's not going to be super boring and kind of characters facing each other in a flat horizon and flat still water in this cute moment between the two of them. When you guys pick colors, you pick colors like, oh, you know, it's a red dragon. I will go and pick red water dragon colors from the, you know, from the color picker. It's not like that, because what's happening is you're not actually picking colors that pass through the filter of the environment, because you guys don't think about the environment. And I'm just showing how the surface of the water gets a different texture, because right now this isn't the horizon line. The edge of the wave isn't the horizon line. It's just the edge of the wave. So we should actually get another rim light passing through the back, because it's not, again, it's not a horizon line, this the edge of this wave. The light gets to pass through it. So that light is going to decide, you know, what color that is. And then once we figured that out, then we can go in and fix all of these colors using that rim light in a second. But yeah, we were like, I've already fixed them, but when in your mind, when you're drawing, that should have been taken care of. And then for the water's edge, if you're at a loss, I suggest you just blur it, because it's a texture that isn't really finite. When it's in motion, it's kind of everywhere. So just blurring the water's edge will help you kind of create like a lens focus as well as a texture. Okay, so you see how The canvas is a little bit more interesting because it's no longer split down the middle. The canvas is now split down the side, which is very interesting because there's all this cute little tension between the two characters, and she's like kind of suspended. She's about to fall, and he's like all being all cute and gentle. It's a bit more fun because it feels like things are in motion and the camera tilted with them. I am done with this one. A little bit more environment, a lot more light environment, a lot more color harmony. The composition is a little bit more interesting, and you could crop it as well if you'd like. It'll make it look a little bit more cinematic if you cropped it, since nothing much is happening in the lower decks anyway. But if you want to keep your original shape, that's fine too, as long as it's not a tile. So before, after. Before, the background color was not matching the foreground colors, which were not matching each other because she's on a whole different level of green, and the background is a different green, and the green of his fins was a different green, and he was kind of like orange, but not really. He doesn't look like a healthy fish. Like if I had a fish that had dull colors like these, I'd be like, that fish is about to die. He needs more iridescent colors, you know, more glow. And then no light ray or no light presence at all in the water. Just because you used white doesn't mean that's light presence. And the saturation is all off for a children's story. And then there was no real atmospheric or motion blur. Like there was no real atmosphere here. And just remember that this is not the horizon line, and this is not the edge of the camera submerged underwater. If you want a camera submerged underwater effect, you have to separate the wave like from the camera a little bit. You have to like do something like that. So filter, blur, motion blur. Something like this, and it's just actually that's it. And then you see a color difference between above the water and below the water. So you see either more or less. So let's try more. Let's try less. Less works if you're in the swamp. More works if you're in you know, a scene like this, but you'd kind of have to darken the upper area. So that whole edge of the thing like this works. This is fine for that. Before, after. So the thing with light and atmosphere and water is that light doesn't stop bouncing, and water needs to be shown as like this blurry motion, high activity thing. You can throw even more water droplets flying around everywhere, blurred in the foreground. And it's a lot of action happening, and it's water, and it's daytime, and there's light. If you enjoyed today's class, support me on Patreon. And if you want to submit stuff for Critique Hour, go to Istebrak.com and click on the Reddit icon here, and submit your work. So just like I said at the start, if you want to submit your 14-day challenge, if you want to submit your illustrations for critique, your studies, make sure you're giving out critique in order to receive critique, or else nobody's really going to know you. So it's a great place to get to know people. And yeah, if you want to support the channel, if you learned something from today about composition, about texture, about illustration, this knowledge sticks with you for the rest of your life. It's not stuff you can unlearn. I've been doing this for a really, really long time, and hope to continue doing it with your support. So if you can, please do support me as a $1 patron on Patreon. I know it's a small amount, but it's not about the amount. It's about getting everybody on board to help support this community, like a literal army of support. Thank you to everyone who's supported for more than $1. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, and I'll see you guys next class. Bye.